It's Audrey-Ann here, and welcome back to our channel. I noticed that we have quite a few new friends on our channel, and I just wanted to explain a little bit. It's a lifestyle channel about our life on the farm, the animals. We moved, my relatives, 1824 farmhouse to our farm, and we live in a converted barn. David and I had a shop forever, and we've had sheep forever, and we're retired empty nesters, and we just love to share everything. Lately, I have been down a decorating kick, moving things around. I've just been had my own inspirations lately, and I want to share with you ways to refresh your home on a budget or without spending money at all. Things that you already have in your own home. So let's share those ideas today, friends. One of the first things to refresh your home is to move some big pieces around. And hopefully that's not too hard for you to do. But right before Christmas, I don't know, I got a bug and I wanted to move some things around. And I have a friend, and we say we share half a brain, and she called and said, guess what I'm doing? I'm painting my bedroom and moving it all around. And I was laughing because I don't know why, but we do that sometimes. And I want to explain to you, I saw in somebody's video they asked, what is primitive decorating? Well, it's like a style, and for some people, it's a lifestyle. They like to live how it was in the early days, and I think sometimes my brain is wired a little bit that way too. But there's an expression in the antiques and vintage world called shop your home, and that means you don't leave your house. You just move this here, move that here, and just mix things up, and it's called shopping your own home. And that's one of my favorite things to do. I love to move things around. So does David, so it's like, double trouble. When my son was in high school, every time he came home from school almost, I was like, come on, we're going to move this and we're going to move that. And after he was the youngest and left and went to college, I learned you can move anything on a wooden floor. You put that rug the right way and off that piece of furniture goes. But that is one of the things you can do. Maybe move a cupboard that you always had in one spot over to another spot. Maybe just move the cupboards around. So that's my number one idea to refresh. Start big. Move those big pieces. Okay, friends, this might be hard to follow along with me, but follow along. This piece used to be in our front room where you came in the house. It's really our back door, but I call it the front room. So that's where that was. And this is before Christmas. Dave and I moved it in here. We had this desk/server over where the highboy was. So we moved that over here. And we had this red cupboard where the highboy was at one time before the desk. So yes, we've been moving some things around, and we think we're settled. But if you have antiques and like primitives and vintage, you know what it's like to move stuff around. You usually have that bug. And we love this here. It's like in a nook. We have a lot of our books in there. And it's actually, that cupboard is not real level, and you can't tell there, but you could tell where it was before. So we're real happy with it here. So in the last couple of months, we've moved all those three things around, and this table, we have moved that around. And I might move that to our family room. And we've moved this table in here, which I think was in our family room. So we moved those big pieces, and I also moved all the smalls that were on them. And it's so much fun. Okay, number 2, to buy, or if you have, peg racks or shelves, little shelves, big shelves. Once they're in place, you can refresh those all the time. You can move things on them. You can do it by the season, by the holiday. I've noticed at the flea markets, at consignment shops, even at Goodwill, I've been seeing those things. I've been seeing the peg rails, I've been seeing the shelves, and you know, if you paint it black or if you like sage green, it just blends in right in, or the same color as your woodwork. It just blends in. You won't know it's new, old, and I have some early peg racks up in the Walker house from the 1700s, and I have some new ones that I painted. So number 2, to refresh your home, get some peg racks and shelves, and then you can always move the things that are on them. Now I shared this peg rack. Talk about shopping from your own home. So in our bedroom before, not now, we had peg rack this color the whole way around the room, and the room is big. It's like 20 by something. It's a big bedroom, and I had it the whole way around, and then we got tired of it and we took it down, but we reused that peg rack. So that was really shopping from our own home. Didn't have to go anywhere for it. And the high boy used to be here. We took the high boy out, and I thought, oh, let's put a peg rack there, because I love to change things around. I just vision herbs, aprons, bonnets, all kinds of stuff here. I shared this with you before, but this is my $8 Salvation Army find that I painted black. And if you paint anything black and you like primitives and antiques, it pretty much just blends in. Now this is an antique shelf. This is from the 1700s. It's a shelf above a hearth. It's a hearth shelf. And everything on this shelf, though, I shopped from my own home. And that's what I'm saying. And I've probably moved things around 3 times on this shelf. And so if you mix things up, you're just refreshing it. That cow in there, David got me like, oh my gosh, 30 years ago. Remember when a lot of people told paint it, and a friend got me the one sheep thing. It's just some of my favorite things. And of course I have the textiles up there, and another friend made me the wool. Isn't that neat? So these are just things I move around, but it refreshes the space. Put your family things up that you love, your collections. Oh, and let me show you this one thing real close. I had it in my bedroom. Talk about shop around. I moved it from there in here. I just love it. Let me show it to you. Isn't this just precious? This is a doll's or a little child's hat box, little trinket box. It is probably 4 by 2 inches. And let me open it for you. Isn't this precious? Oh my goodness, look. At the bottom. All hand sewn. Let me read this to you. Mother made this little hat box when she was 12 years and took it to North Carolina and gave it to her cousins, and it is now mine. Viola. Isn't that just precious? Oh my gosh, it's one of my favorite things, but I'm shopping from my home. I didn't go out and buy anything new, and my whole house was refreshed when we did the family room. Number 3, and you probably thought I would have had this as number 2, textiles. Oh my goodness. You don't have to buy expensive quilts. You don't have to buy anything expensive. When you're out there, there is a saying in the antique world called cutter quilt. And those are quilts that are worn and torn and have holes in them, have stains in them. And I have an example here. This quilt, I love the brown on this side. But look how ragged it is. You see how ragged? But look at the colors. in here. Let me show this close up. Isn't that wonderful? I bought this years ago, and I use it for crafts. You don't have to buy expensive to decorate with. Whoops, where'd it go? Okay, I had something to show you, but I can't find it. All right, I'll find it in a little bit. So anyhow, you can buy cutter quilts that are just ragged. You can make them straight if you don't sew or don't like to sew, and just fold them up or make a mat and put something on it. I was in an antique shop once, and you just have to look. I found a piece of homespun. This is turn of the century homespun. It was terrible. There was holes in it, and it was just terrible. But I have it folded up in the Walker house and with my blues, and I have made lavender sachets out of it. So when you see something and think, oh, that's not good, it has a hole in it, well, you could cut it and fold it in. And also really inexpensive ways, like if you see runners that are vintage or old at the Goodwills and the flea markets. Also, just kitchen tea towels or little kitchen, what do I want to say? Tea towels. So if you see tea towels that are vintage or old, or even if they're new and they look like homespun or they look like antiques, to fold them and put them somewhere, or to put a teapot over it to layer with them. You don't have to spend a lot of money, but textiles really help add texture and refreshes the space. This is that cutter quilt, and you can tell it's just not in good shape. I've been making strawberries. I love to make them, just put them in bowls. And I use the sheep wool for in the filling. So that's an example. I wanted to show you, if you fold it up, look, you can just put it on a shelf. It doesn't look bad at all. It has a little tear. You don't have to see the edges, but it looks okay. You can just fold up that tattered piece. I found this Grandma Moses runner at a store, already made, already hemmed up. It gives you that winter feeling. I should have put this out for the winter video. Isn't it cute? Look up Grandma Moses. Oh my gosh, I love her. And she started her career when she was not real young, but I think it looks great on the table. So look for those runners. Here's another one of my kitchen towels. I've had this forever, and of course I love it. It has a Suffolk sheep on it, but I use this a lot in my Instagram pictures. You can find me on Instagram also at 1824 Walker Farmhouse. But I love it, you know, beside a slice of pie with on a plate on this. It just refreshes your kitchen. I have another idea for you for textiles. This is a sad story that ended up happy. This was a sweater, and Dave accidentally shrunk it. He put it in the dryer, and I thought, there is no way I'm going to... He said, oh, you can give it to a niece or somebody. I'm like, It was my most favorite sweater, so I made it into a pillow. And I told you about Jane Austen. They had these big pillows at the end of the couch. And you know, those historical movies, they have somebody that just makes sure all the props are correct to the period. So this fits beautiful on the couch, and I get to see my favorite sweater more now than I would have if it wasn't shrunk. All these textiles are frayed, have holes in them, but you wouldn't know it. You just stack them up. So you don't have to buy expensive textiles or cloths. Just fold them up and put them on the shelf. It's a nice refresh. Okay, another way to refresh your space. You're saying, Audrienne, I am not moving those big pieces. I like them where they are. But you can move all the smalls around them. The first thing I would suggest is books. You can refresh any space with books. Vintage books, new books. Some go to the library sales and they find wonderful vintage books, books that you're interested in on coffee table, end table. Some people take off the covers of books and stack them all up, the off-white, and put a bow around them. Some people like to put a garden book and then put a vintage garden trowel with a bow around it, or some jute if you're like more primitives. You know, books just can refresh a space automatically and give you that feeling of whatever season it is. And the smalls, so if you keep the big pieces in place and you just can't move anything around or don't want to move anything around, how about moving the smalls in your cupboards? Move these little smalls, and by that I mean, do you have little crocks or even your collections? You might have had this certain collection in a cupboard forever. Well, let's move it around and move it to another cupboard. That just refreshes the space. It makes it look new just by moving things around. So the smalls, move your smalls around, and that will refresh a space. I did share with you before about just putting scarves out. Scarves make easy winter decorating. But do you have hats in the house somewhere, or somebody's hat, or an old hat that you see at a flea market? Hats are fun. A lot of times they're only a couple dollars. Actually, this hat was our son's hat from horse riding. Of course, it doesn't fit him now, but it fits in. I love the horse weather vane. I love the scarves. I love the sleigh bells for the horses. So do you have a hat maybe that you could just put it in with your decor? Well, friends, thanks so much for being here today with me on the farm. I hope that you're motivated, inspired a little bit to do a refresh inside your house. You know, in January when Dave and I had the shop, we always planned our events, workshops, and we still do that. We plan our workshops and what we're going to do in the farm, some of our goals for the year. Not that we always get them done, but we try to refresh our minds as well as our homes. And I've always loved that period because once spring hits, it's like just crazy. Right after Christmas, I have to call my shearer and get that planned, and I start planting my daffodils inside so that when spring comes, they're already blooming. And I just hope that you take this time too to refresh your mind as well as your homes. So go ahead and move something around. And I thank you so much for being here, and we'll see you real soon.